Doing Charlie Winters here with horse racing and football selections for Saturday the 13th. No, it isn't. It's Saturday the 14th of February. So I'll get comfortable. I'll let you see my face. There's no charge. Anyway, let's get into the horse racing selections. So for Saturday, what I'm doing is I've had three horses that I think have got a decent chance of winning. One of them's in quite a competitive handicap, and you'll see the other two very shortly. So what I've gone for is I've gone for a couple of quid on each one. Then I've gone for a 50p each way Trixie, just in case it was a close miss, and they actually come into place. So I'll get into it very shortly. Don't worry, I've only had a can. So the first selection, so these are the win selections, although they are part of an each way bet as well. I should talk you through it. So this is the first selection where I've had £2 win on it. It's called One Dimensional. It's 11 to 4 in the 4:45 at Ascot. It's by the trainer Max Comley. I've only seen a couple of runners from him. Obviously, clearly, he's not a big time trainer. I find it interesting the fact it's a second favourite, 11 to 4 behind a Dan Skelton horse. It ran very encouragingly in, I think it was a listed bumper. As I said, it's not a big stable. It could be a decent horse. It's 11 to 4. We've got £2 win on it, and we've also got it as part of a 50p each way Trixie. I just think it could run a very good race tomorrow. You may find, I have placed this bet obviously at Friday night, you may find that it could well drift. With it being not from one of the more popular or top trainers, you might find it goes on a crazy drift. If you see me keep looking to the side, I've got a mouse for my laptop instead. It just makes things a little bit easier. So let's just move on to the next one. So the next one is Stars End at 5 to 2 in the 1:15 at Ascot. I saw this horse run not last time, the time before against the horse that won today at the Skeltons. It's called something like Bossman something. Bossman won very well today at Chepstow. It was keen throughout and was still full of running. Don't get me wrong, I think it was something like 2 to 5, 1 to 4 or something like that. But it did look a bit of a machine, I must say, although it couldn't jump. Still won really easily. And I think the fact that Starzan got within something like a length and 3/4 from that horse, and it was only headed late on, I just think it shows that Starzan has got a little bit of star quality. Well, I say star quality, but on a low level to not a low level. It's not top class, but Starzan is definitely progressing in the right way, and I do like the look of it. It has got the Ben Pauling horse to beat. I think that's the main danger. And I think it's got a decent chance. Once again, I've had £2 win on it and a 50p each way, as part of a 50p each way patent. Where's the other one gone? So the other selection, well, I don't know where that's disappeared to. I've had a £2 win on Minella Emperor as well. It's 5 to 1, I believe, favourite in the 3:50 at Haydock. The reason I've gone for this one, and sorry about all the chins. I'm a bit. I'll just put it down to the laptop being at a funny angle because it is. I'm like laid back a bit as well. So Minella Emperor is trained by Emmett Mullins. The horse has had a huge campaign on the National Hunt flat scene. Prior to that, I do believe it was a 3 mile point-to-pointer, but also it's only had 4 runs over hurdles, and it's gradually been stepped up in trip. And as it is doing, it is progressing quite a bit. And I think it is still very well handicapped because I think it's clearly still handicapped based on its form over hurdles. I believe it's now stepped to either 3 mile or 2 mile, 7.5 furlong. And I just think Emmett Mullins is mustard when it comes to this kind of thing. Don't get me wrong, I think the prize money is only about 13 grand. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'd like 13 grand. However, it's not one of these 40 or 50 grand races, I'm pretty sure. So I'd have probably been even more confident if it had been a much more expensive race. Um, oh, what's going off? I've pressed the button. Right, so there's Manila Emperor. So there's a £2 winner I on it. So yeah, so those horses, £2 win on each, and then a 50p each way Trixie. So let's get down to this is the exciting one. This is the one that really gets the blood pumping. So it's a 25 pence each way, lucky 31, and I'm gonna have a small each way singles on each one of them. Only very small though. So I've gone for big prices, and I do think they've all got chances. The problem is, if I'm being realistic, we might get one or two placed. We're really hoping for 3, 4, or 5 placed, but yeah. So the first selection is Katera at 28 to 1 in the 225 at Ascot. This horse has been messed around over a variety of trips. I think today's trip, I think it's 2.5 mile. Well, this horse is also entered in the Mayor's Hurdle at Cheltenham, which is pretty much a month away. God, that's. By the way, I'm going on the Tuesday. I don't know if anybody else is going. Let me know in the comments. But Katera has been messed around with. So if its big entry is for Cheltenham in the Mayor's Hurdle over this same trip, it really needs to show something in this race on Saturday at Ascot. You can't be finishing. All right, don't get me wrong. It is top weight, but you can't be finishing 8th. It needs to come in the first 4 to warrant even thinking about going to the Mayor's Hurdle. Don't get me wrong. It's not one of the fancied horses. I think it's about 40s at the moment, but in my opinion, it's got to run well tomorrow. Run well has got to be no worse than 6th, in my opinion, and realistically, first 4, and that's exactly what they're paying out on at Ladbrokes. You will be able to get better odds with obviously, sorry, not odds, better place terms with Sky Bet. The second selection is Blow Your Wad at 40 to 1 in the 335 at Ascot. So this, for me, this race, I could sit and talk about this race for a good half an hour, but I'm not going to, don't worry. So it's John Bond's race. So it's soft ground over 2 mile 5 at Ascot. Let me just try and remember what. So John Bond has never ran over 2 mile 5. Nicky Henderson keeps claiming regularly that it's dying for a step up in trip. It has won over the trip of 2 mile 4. I believe twice at Aintree. Well, Aintree isn't a difficult course to get 2 mile 4. You see a lot of the champion hurdlers hoping to go to the 2 mile 4 race and use their speed to try and nick some place prize money or even the win prize money. But it's not one of those where you really struggle too much for stamina. But when you're talking about Ascot, which is also a tough course, but it's 2 mile 5, it's also soft ground. And I think John Bond, I'm not saying it doesn't handle soft ground at all, and I'm not saying it won't stay 2 mile 5, but I think the combination of the two, the new trip of 2 mile 5 at Ascot on soft ground, and don't get me wrong, it's not all of a sudden the John Bond of the old. Yeah, it won a battle with the outsider of, was it 4 in the race? Don't get me wrong, the Skeleton Horse ran a cracking race last time, but I just think maybe some people are getting carried away with the John Bond situation. But Blow Your Wad. So that's the one I've gone for. The second favourite is Peak Dorhey. I probably said that wrong. So that horse is more likely to stay the trip. However, massive question marks over the ground. It's soft ground. It's been drizzling on and off at Ascot most of the day. I think it is going to be soft ground. It's not giving any rain out for Saturday. It's given like sunny intervals, but it won't be drying. I thought they were a non-runner then. It said 4 places instead of 3. I personally think that Peak Dorhey I think that will be the. I think there are doubts over John Bomb. I think there are even bigger doubts over Peak Dorhy. I just think that it won't like the ground. It has ran on similar ground, but I'm just not convinced it wants ground like this because you've only got to look at the form or look at the races it's ran in, even well and sorry, you've only got to look at the most recent races, probably the last 10. It's good or good to soft the horse has just been running on. And I'm not convinced it wants the soft ground. And I think it's a perfectly reasonable excuse to go against the front two. So why am I not going for the third favourite? I'm just trying to think what the third favourite is at the moment. I'm not going to go clicking around. It's 10 to 1. I think it's trained by Alan King. That horse also is generally, it's Edwardstone. That's the horse. Generally a 2 mile horse. Off the top of my head, I'm trying to remember what I was looking at, but you could. That hasn't got to be the horse that finishes second if one of the front two don't run its race. Because I'll be honest, I do fancy Blow Your Wad, but I was also looking at Heltenham, the one that's trained by Dan Skelton. But I'm a bit concerned that Heltenham is purely there for a schooling session. That's my concern about that one. But Blow Your Wad, I think it's got a right chance. So Blow Your Wad, it's raced prominent in the last 2 runs. It doesn't always, but it was running over 3 mile. And it regularly runs over 2.5, 2 mile 5. Then, like I said, the last 2 runs it were 3 mile. It's left Tom Lacey, and I believe this is the first run for Gary and Josh Moore. Well, not quite sure what the long-term plan were because I do believe it's still the same owners. So the owners look to have switched from Tom Lacey to Gary and Josh Moore, and I don't know why. I can't tell you why. But you might even get an improvement from the switch in the trainers. So I think 40 to 1 with definite question marks over the front two in the betting. I think it's a huge price. I was even tempted, daft as it sounds, to chuck it. I think it's 6 runners in the race, to chuck the other 4 in combination forecasts. No, that's how crazy it is. In like, completely ignore the front two. Yeah, that's what I was tempted. But I did tip up Golden Ace to win the Champion Hurdle as an each way bet, but that wasn't a confident bet. That was like, if there's a number of circumstances that happen, it's got a chance. Well, obviously you know what happened. Constitution Hill fell, State Man fell, and all kinds of things happened in the race. But it's a similar kind of race. Blow Your Wad. There could be a number of circumstances that give it a much better chance, and I like to think I've mentioned a few. So the next selection is Serendipity at 16 to 1 in the 128 at Haydock. So this horse is trained by Sue Smith and Joel Parkinson. It's ridden by Gavin Sheehan, I believe. I just think, even though I believe it pulled up last time, there are a number of runs that could give it a chance. Once again, I think these prices that I've picked out for you, I think they're far too big to ignore. It's like, yes, they are possibly unlikely to come placed, but I personally think they've got a decent chance of running much better than their price suggests. Let's put it that way. I just don't want one of them unlucky days where they all come one place out of the placings where we get paid out on. So the next selection is Casino de Mott at 20 to 1 in the 240. Yeah, it's 240 at Haydock. So this selection, if I'm being honest, the first 5 in the betting. Sorry, let's just say, God, I'm not very good at this, am I? Let's have a sip, Sean. So, in my opinion, third place is wide open. Wide open. I think Casino de Mott is right up there in the top 5 rated in this race. Definitely with horses that are in form. I think 20 to 1 is far too big, and I do believe it's trained by Joe Tizard. I think he's having an okay season, to be fair. He has been quite, what was it, for the last couple of years, I think since he took over from his dad, Colin Tizard, but I think he's gradually finding his feet a little bit. Still hasn't got too many superstars. Well, not many superstars, to be fair. Not like his dad had. I don't quite know how he managed to get them. You know, that, I was going to name something. Thistlecrack, Q Card. Yeah, so, yeah. To say it's like a small stable, there's some cracking horses that they actually had. Anyway, so that one's got a decent chance. And then, finally, Monbeg Genius at 10 to 1 in the 3:15 at Haydock. Monbeg Genius running in the Grand National. I don't think it's handicapped well enough to win it and good enough to win it for a start. I think it'll probably go to an Irish trainer. Even though John Joe's Irish, is not really classed as an Irish trainer. So this horse, it's got bits and bobs of form, but it does stay all day, and it does love bad ground. It ran in this race last year and ran a similar kind of race. Let me just think now. I'm not sure if it ran in this race last year. It ran in the same prep race last time as it did this time last year. That was it. And it ran pretty much to the same form. So it comes into this race in decent form. It's 10 to 1. To be fair, all these prices are probably the worst prices they are because I've had them the night before. They aren't best odds guaranteed because it's with Ladbrokes. I'm probably going to, if there's not much of a loss, I might end up cashing out at some point and placing the bet again. I just wanted to show you the prices. So there's me taking a hit financially just to show you the prices. Anyway, so those are the selections for Saturday, the 14th of February. So what I'm going to do, I will put the football bet in the description and the first comment. I will pin the comment. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions or if you think I'm bonkers for taking on John Bon, taking on John Bon and Pete Doherty. Yeah, so the football bet will be in the description and the first comment come about 10 o'clock Saturday morning. As I said, or I might have said, it's the FA Cup, nothing to get too excited about. But yeah, interesting days racing. And I think the racing might gradually be warming up over the weekends. Saying that, I'm kind of contradicting myself. Sometimes you do see some poor racing, but I think this time of year, you will see the odd, obviously, prep race ready for Cheltenham. You will see the odd big gun having its final preparation ready for Cheltenham. So it is an interesting time of the year, ready for Cheltenham, then ready for Aintree. So yeah, so I wish you the very best of luck. It's been a long video in the end, so I apologise for that. Nearly 18 minutes. So I wish you the very best of luck. Charlie Winters, over and out. Cheers, mate.